Hey, Podnutsians, welcome to Mini PC Show episode 122. My name is Door to Door Geek. I want to give a big thank you to Stephen Ward for his support through Patreon. If you would like to support us through patreon.com, it's very easy. Links are in the notes, or you can just go to patreon.com/the Mini PC Show. Speaking of support, I'm joined this week by Brett and by Rich. How's everything going, Rich?
I gotta find my talk button. Everything's good. It's just going by fast. Got lots of things going on. Had the nice Memorial Day weekend. We got to reflect and be thankful for those who gave all for us to be us. Always could use an extra day, though.
Absolutely, I understand that. How's everything going on your side, Brett?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Been working a lot on random things here and there. A lot of computer related stuff. Not so much mini PC, but I do have a couple new ones.
Gotcha. Well, I'll ask you first. Do you have any new hardware, IoT, hardware in your system / IoT stuff in your system, or any new kind of like software mini stuff that you've learned?
Well, right now I'm learning how to tune an engine, which is kind of fun. I was able to get a full ECU, a full standalone programmable ECU for my motorhome, and it's interesting because it's weird not having a distributor for those who know engines. Normally you have a distributor that runs and it sparks at a set point. Well, when you have no distributor and you have coil packs, they're called, you can do anything. You can have them fire in a different firing order just off the cuff. Just you can time them individually, and it's a lot to learn, but it's really fun. I'm really enjoying it. I got everything up and running, and it added quite a bit of power just right off the bat.
Wow. So what ECU did you get?
I actually got the AEM Infinity 3. It's a fully programmable. It's actually a racing ECU, but because my RV is pre-75, they don't care what I do to the engine as far as smog and anything. But
that's because you live behind the Iron Curtain.
Yeah. And it's the engine that I have is actually a marine engine. It's a 502 cubic inch fuel injected motor. So the previous owner actually swapped the engine in.
I was going to say fuel injected. Are you talking multi-port fuel injection?
Direct, yeah. Direct injection.
Direct injection.
Multi-port. Yeah,
I was going to say direct injection. Either you got a diesel.
No.
You don't need a distributor or coil packs.
Yeah, no, it's multi-port with the fuel rail. I always get those mixed up, but yeah, it's basically a 502 cubic inch LS motor.
Cool.
So it's based on the LS the Chevy LS series, and it's a beast. Not many motorhomes can do a burnout, and this is one of them, very easily.
You have dualies on the rear?
Yeah. No. Tandem.
Tandem. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually have no drive shaft. I'm front wheel drive.
Oh, okay. So it's like a Tornado transaxle.
Exactly. It is a Tornado, in fact. It's the GMC. They took the Tornado front end and put it on this GMC.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun, and the best thing about the RV is you don't have to climb 6 stairs to get into it.
Oh, cool.
So
it's that's very, the Turbo Hydromatic 425 for those that are really GM fans.
Correct. It's basically a front-wheel drive Turbo 450, or is it 400?
No, Turbo 400.
Turbo 400? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there was a Turbo 350 and a Turbo 400.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Very cool. Rich, do you have any new mini PC hardware in your system? New IoT stuff, or anything in the software realm?
So the only thing new, like IoT for me, is what's old. with the ESXi for ARM, you get a 6-month 6-month license. So I had to nuke and pave my ESXi cluster, my Raspberry Pi ESXi cluster. So I did that over the last couple of days. Not like it took a couple days to do. Really, it'd take probably an hour to do. It's four machines. And then I did something wrong on my distributed switch. So then vMotion did not work correctly, and I got that fixed. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. I've been pretty active in other areas, so I haven't really been doing mini PC stuff.
Well, first I'll say busy's always good as far as I'm concerned. The only really stuff I have here going on my side, first I'll just get it out of the way. I'm another year older. Pushing 50 now. Yay.
Pushing 50?
Yeah, great.
Wait a second. You mean I'm older than you?
49 years old.
Well, happy birthday, Dor.
Happy birthday, bud.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'll just say, connected with this show after a very selfish way I'm going to put this, after losing Eric R. Dini, birthdays aren't great fun is the way I'll put it.
Yeah.
Well, and on a lighter note, I was running, I got no new hardware per se. I got to save up. Got to get another hard drive so I can mirror my Nextcloud instance. Long story short, I downloaded the first 10 years in air quotes of pride fighting events, but I got to transcode them, put them in the right format, combine some of them to be a single video, and then I'm going to let Guy, a good friend, copy them because he's a big pride fighting fan. I figured while I'm sitting home from work, I might as well make somebody else happy at the same time. So I got to do that. Besides that, I finally jumped off of Raspbian X, which was the Raspberry Pi focused desktop interface where they would allow you to switch from a Windows-like desktop to a Mac-like desktop to a genuine Linux-type desktop. And I believe they even had a Chromium-like desktop. I finally jumped ship because Raspbian X basically got deprecated, got pulled into Twister OS. So I loaded Twister OS on my Raspberry Pi 4 gigs of RAM with the Ice Tower cooler. Ice Tower cooler will not go above 36 degrees no matter what I do. So I've been able to nail stuff against this operating system and have most of it work really good. This is the first distribution I finally got Steam working on it, not Steam Link, genuine Steam running on it.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, the two things I had to do was I had to go into PiKiss. If you've never heard of PiKiss, PiKiss, it's Pi, keep it simple, stupid application to where you could, in like very few clicks, install a bunch of things from Grand Theft Auto 3 to Vulkan drivers, or amongst a crazy amount of things in between, I'll say, including Samba servers, SSH servers, web servers, email servers, all kinds of stuff. So I had to go into PiKiss and load the Vulkan driver. Then I had to go into the Box 86, which is the x86 emulation layer, and I had to update that. Then when I loaded Steam, I couldn't load the normal Steam interface. I could load the Steam compact interface or the big picture interface. So I can install and uninstall games. I've tried maybe 30-something games. I've gotten at least 11 or 12 to load. Of those, like 9 to 10 of them run great. 2 of them run at like half speed, so I gotta see if I can kind of tweak them. So I finally got genuine Steam to install on a Pi device and games to actually run. With Box 86, I wanted it to become more mature because I want to be able to put other 32-bit based things on my Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So when you say 32-bit based, are you talking 32-bit x86 software?
Yeah, when I load up my Steam, it loads x86 versions of the games, and when it calls the Steam executable, it does it on this x86 emulation layer. So I don't need genuine ARM ports of any of these things to for it to work.
Okay, that's good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of like time-killing kind of things. I will also say I'm also finally getting around to curating some of my games list, because built into Twister OS is also RetroPie.
Oh,
RetroPie,
fun.
super easy way to load kind of games. I'm using SSH commands to back up all the directories to other places, so I can save on one device, load on another.
Oh, that'd be fun.
My
RetroPie is just all kinds of fun.
my basic goal is to get starting at the like Atari 2600 level, go up to around the Nintendo 64 level, and just pick out the creme de la creme of each of the systems, and then have that as my master list of games, and then I'll start doing something else.
That'd be nice. That'd be good. Side note, I actually picked a theme for my my RV. Speaking of Atari, in 2012, Hot Wheels did a version of the GMC motorhome, 1977 GMC motorhome, and they did an Atari 2600 version. So it was what I thought was black with wood grain, and said Atari 2600 on the side. Well, I bought one, and it's actually like almost like a galaxy blue, black-ish metallic. And so, long story short, I'm changing all my switches, all my buttons, all my everything to arcade buttons. And I have found a way to use my ESP32, which is my favorite IoT device ever, to have different lights come on, because I change out the actual light bulb in the arcade button, so the light will actually change RGB with serial instead of just straight RGB. So it'll I have one for my starter button that if any of my doors are open outside, it'll flash red, won't let me start. If any of my doors on the inside are open, it'll flash yellow, and it'll still let me start the RV. But if everything's closed, it'll just stay green when I turn my key on, and it'll just let me turn it on. So it's going to be a lot of programming. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm basically turning this RV into a showpiece as much as I can.
Very cool, very cool. Quick question in the chat. If you want to join us live in the chat, you can follow us on Twitter, Discord. If you want to, I can send you an email, or a Patreon, or I can send you an email. Just shoot me your email address when we go live, and I'll shoot you an email. John in the chat is asking, is a mini PC a good platform to run arcade game ROMs? The short answer is it depends on which arcade games. You then mentioned Mortal Kombat. You can run Mortal Kombat on any mini PC, probably going back to the Raspberry Pi 2, and it will run just fine. My personal opinion about any game emulation, it all depends on the hardware. If you spend the money on a modest arcade stick, which is like 60 to 70 bucks right there, you will get some really authentic Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter like gaming on a sub $40 computer board. That's what I'll say. You'll end up spending more money on the monitor and more money on the input stick than the actual computer itself.
And I'll add to that speaking of which, the buttons. I went two ways with the buttons. I tried the relatively inexpensive kits that you can get on Amazon, and I have a thing about, if you want an arcade feel, you need to get the arcade buttons that have the micro switches. They have replaceable micro switches, but if you get the ones that are really inexpensive, I'm not saying cheap as in like bad quality, but they're inexpensive, you don't get that tactical feel of an arcade switch, of an arcade button that, so like Dor said, spend the money on the hardware, and you'll get 99% to an original feeling of the game.
Yeah, and really quick there, the elephant in the room for this episode, I'll say, is Amazon Sidewalk. You have your typical, what I'll say, how can I say this? Your typical flame baiting, knee jerk reaction, uneducated tech journalist scream at the top of their lungs and yet have absolutely zero education on what they're talking about. Okay. Amazon Sidewalk. Amazon Sidewalk was announced well over a year ago. In fact, the spec of it was actually completely published well over a year ago. They announced that starting here in like 30 days or so, every applicable Amazon device will have Amazon Sidewalk turned on by default. And then the tech journalists go absolutely crazy. Amazon's going to give away your internet connection. They're going to steal your bandwidth. They're going to let anybody use your network, kind of thing. And I'll just say very abruptly, that's not how any of this works. You sound like the old woman in the insurance commercial with pictures on her wall saying that they're going to unfriend you and take you off their wall. You literally have no idea how any of this works, okay? There's going to be a link in the notes to a Security Now episode from now over a year ago where Steve Gibson goes through every single aspect of the protocol of Sidewalk, and he tells you how it's based on a LoRa. That's how I pronounce it. LoRa protocol, which by default is only using bits at a time. It's so teeny tiny in usage. It's kind of insane, number one. Number two, Amazon can't even see inside the bits. Okay, that's how secure it is. It's basically, it's like Tor on top of Tor kind of thing where nobody can see inside the bits. They're only going to use very little bits of bandwidth at a time. And if you have anything even like 100 megs up or down, you're never even going to notice things using this device. You're not going to stream video using Amazon Sidewalk. All it is literally up to half a mile away, the devices will be able to send information, especially like the new Amazon Bluetooth tracking devices. They'll be able to just send like a MAC address over this protocol. It will take like a minute for it to get there, but they'll be able to send the MAC address over. And that's really all that this protocol is doing. And
now, is that real quick? Is that kind of similar to a LoRa protocol?
I do believe the Amazon devices are using exactly that, a LoRa, long-range protocol.
Yeah, because that thing doesn't do any kind of network speed, but the distance on it is ridiculous.
Yes, I mean, hypothetically, even if you only have 10 megs up in your network speed, and you have 15 Amazon Alexa devices in your house, and all of them are using Amazon Sidewalk, you will not be able to do a speed test and tell that they're using your internet.
See, when I read that, I first thought, "Oh, great! Now they're publishing my Wi-Fi again." Just like that's why I don't have a cable company router modem set up. I have my own modem, my own router. But yeah, when I read further into it, I'm like, "Oh, it's just like tracking tags," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, it's not giving away free internet."
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people were first afraid of. I understand the Xfinity routers will literally blast an open network that anybody who's
Correct.
an Xfinity customer can access and use.
Does that still work?
I'm 99% sure, yeah.
Oh, wow. I have to do that with my RB then.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like this is nothing like that. This is only Amazon trusted devices using this protocol will be able to do automated kind of things. If you're in a suburb area, even if only 1 out of 10 houses are using this, they're still going to be able to get 100% coverage. They did a test of this in Seattle where they basically gave every employee, in air quotes, a free Alexa type device. Only like 10% took advantage of it, and they had 100% coverage of the city of Seattle, basically. Yeah,
that's pretty cool
because it's so long range.
I do like the idea, especially of that type of LoRa interface and the LoRa protocol, because it makes, theoretically, a tile or the Amazon tags or whatever should become small enough to be tags for animals. And if we can do that, I won't worry about taking my cat anywhere, because if it gets out, then it's going to be trackable.
You can find it, yeah.
I can find it, or just shake the can and she'll usually come back anyway. But
well, yeah, that was the number one example of how this can be used for the community good, tracking pets kind of thing. And I have to say, it makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. And
yeah,
and I'll say, if you're the kind of person that hears this kind of thing and then gets upset, well, then I got to ask you, why in the hell would you buy an Amazon device in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, and then two, if you're a Google person and you say, making fun of those Amazon people, guess what, buddy? Your days are numbered, because they're coming for you too. Google's going to do this exact same thing. If we learned one thing over time, once a company does one thing, every other company tries to swarm in and do that better.
Yeah. I mean, look at Apple with, everything. I hate to say it, but 99% of the stuff that they have done, aside from very, very few things, is just a little bit better mousetrap, and a little bit better in air quotes. Is it not always better, but it works. I hate to say it, but that's the good thing about Apple devices, that they work, but we can make our stuff work way better. It's just we have to make it work way better.
Yeah, they used to always say it was build quality. I don't think it was build quality per se. I think it was like their manufacturing line checking of quality.
I'm just not a fan of the Apple tax.
I'm not a fan of the Apple software, period, to be honest. It's just, as with any nerd, we all know it's too locked down, but it's too locked down for a reason.
Yeah, I'm liking the OS less and less. What am I running right now? I'm like one OS version behind. So I'm to open a site without a good SSL, a self-signed cert. You gotta click go there. No, I really want to go there. No, I want to go there. Here's my password. Okay, let me go there. It's like, really? Yeah. Please, just I'm sure there's some way to bypass that. I have no idea how.
There should be a way to at least ease it up.
Accept the certificate, or if it's on my LAN, let me go there.
Yeah, well, especially that.
Yeah, those kind of things, I hate to say it, they're for the, in air quote, normal user, because the amount of malware, ransomware, crypto stuff on Mac has never been as bad as it is right now. So they have to do everything in their power to try to slow it down.
Well, they've never had enough of a market share. What's their market share now? Is it, I know it's gone up, but it still can't be more than 20%, is it?
Oh, no. Total computing devices, it's still way below that. It's still below 10%. If you're just in the U.S. market, and if you put computing devices in one category because of their tablets and phones, they're, I do believe, above 15%.
Okay, yeah, because I remember about 5 years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, I checked and it was like 12%. So, but
what's the term? It's not confirmation bias, but everywhere I go, everybody has a Mac. Everywhere I go, everybody has a iPhone.
It is
everywhere
cognitive
you go has
bias.
Yeah, everyone has an iPhone. Not everyone has a Mac.
I'm just saying. So there's 3 truisms I can tell you about my life experience. Everybody has a Mac, everybody has an iPhone, and everybody in Palm Beach is from New York.
Yeah, it's the same cognitive bias where I get a Honda minivan, and all of a sudden I notice every 3 to 4 vehicles is a Honda friggin' minivan.
That's like my wife's car. Before my wife got that Lexus RX 450, I didn't even know what it was. And now
Speaking of which, I want to talk about that.
8 an hour. I just want to, since we're talking about Mac, I know we talked, Dora and I talked about this on the show before, but I'm building my own Mac. So here's my Mac trash can. I'm just showing this to Brett. All of our viewers or listeners or subscribers have seen this before. And this is 4 Raspberry Pis with a 5 port switch. And on the bottom here is, I can't show you, but there's an Ethernet to Ethernet jack. So there's going to be one power wire going in,
That'll be nice.
one Ethernet cable, and that's the fan.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
So
Yeah, I've actually been looking. Am I still here? Hold on.
we hear you, we don't see you.
Yeah, I just accidentally refreshed the page. Hold on, just 1 second. Keep talking.
I'm done talking. Now, when when you tell people to talk, then nobody knows what to say.
Right. I do like that setup. I will say that, and I do think I messed up the video here, so I need a second.
Okay, I'm back. But what I was looking at, I have in my RV, I have, let's see, I have my engine, which has 140 amp alternator to charge the to charge the regular batteries. You know, actually, you'd be surprised how small that is. Most engines need at least 90 to run fuel injection.
Here's airplanes. Most airplanes have a 30 amp alternator. Yeah, I'm talking single engine piston.
Okay, is that, yeah, because I know most pre-fuel injection the normal was 40 to 45. But I have a 6,000 watt Onan generator, which is built into the RV from the actual. It's the original one. Slides out. It's
so
beautiful.
Air cooled,
just
gasoline powered
from the actual tank. From the actual gas tank. It only goes to a quarter tank in one of the one of the two gas tanks before it shuts itself off. And that thing's got 170 hours on it from 1977. You know,
and how loud is that?
You know what? I could probably replace the little shock absorbers, but it is not that loud. You can hear it inside a little bit, but it's really not that bad.
Yeah, I've always heard that people with the modern, RVs or whatever, that the new ones are super quiet.
Yeah, if you get an inverter style generator, it's night and day. But this, compared to like a normal generator that you get at Harbor Freight, or you get anywhere that isn't an inverter like a Honda style, it's much quieter than a regular generator.
Well, all right, so that's one thing I was always shocked at in Manhattan. Well, two things. In Manhattan, like in the winter, whether it's a hot dog vendor or pretzel vendor on the corner with a cart, he would have lights and he'd have a Honda generator, and you couldn't hear it running. I was always shocked.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Well, that's because it's the style. It's not a regular generator. It's a 12-volt generator. If I remember right, it's a 12-volt generator that acts as an inverter to 120.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it doesn't. It's a completely different mechanism, and I don't understand it. I haven't looked into it enough, but it's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm shocked at that's been quiet, and again, it's probably been quiet for more than a decade, but I've been out of boating for a very long time. Outboards used to be deafening.
Really?
I was kayaking this weekend, and somebody pulled up with an outboard. I didn't hear them until they were like about 10 feet away from me.
Wow. And now, would that, sorry, excuse my ignorance for boating, outboard, is that propeller based?
Yeah.
Okay, so would that technically be the propeller the technology in the propeller, or the sound of the engine?
No, they went from two-stroke, where you had to mix the gas and oil together, to a four-stroke engine that's oil injected, and again, muffler technology, whatever, has gotten better. It's like it could have been an electric motor, by just the amount of noise or lack thereof.
Yeah, well, mine's definitely not quiet. I've got Magnaflows with a 3-inch exhaust all the way to the back. No catalytic converter, no resonator, no nothing. Just straight Magnaflow mufflers and single pipe. And at idle, it sounds nice and just calm and good, but you put some RPM on that thing and it likes to yell. But what's kind of cool is at 70 to 75, which is way too fast for a 12,000 pound motorhome, the RPM is literally at 2,500. I get about
nice.
16. Yeah, I get about 16 to 17 miles per gallon with this whole setup.
Dude, you're killing me. I get 16 in my Envoy.
Yeah.
How?
It's
I've
the RPMs
never
and
understood.
yeah, it's the RPMs and I'm getting. I haven't checked it yet, but technically I'm getting better now because of the ECU install. Because I'm able to change the air to fuel ratio more towards a better fuel economy rather than more power.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's fun, and I talk about the RV way too much, but it's what I have fun with.
You know what you need to watch is there's an episode of Watch JR Go where he does an open loop lean burn on a Corvette and gets crazy mileage.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I have to look that up. Yeah. The guy that helps me with all this tuning is actually the guy that, well, started all of it. He told me, because I was getting about 16 air to fuel, and he said you need to knock that way down. You're gonna burn your engine up, because that was the original ECU. He said with that much weight and that much load on the engine, he said you're gonna burn the engine up in 10,000 miles. And so I went quite a bit down, and yeah, he's been helping me. God, is he smart? But he started the company, so I understand why he's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, the normal stoichiometric ratio is 14.7 to 1 air to fuel ratio.
Yeah, and based on, it throws me off, but depending on the injection, or depending on the timing, the injection, the air to fuel, you get different powers at different levels or different RPMs, and so my problem is my torque goes way up in the higher RPMs. So I never get above 2,500 RPM. Period.
Gotcha.
Even so that's why I needed to tune it down to where the ratio went better in the lower RPMs.
Got it.
But yeah, it's a lot to learn. And I don't even know half the stuff I'm doing, but I'm learning.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool. I just want to mention one more gaming related thing, because it is a mini PC related thing. It's going to be 3 quick successive links in the chat. One of them is to a Verge article where they're speculating they've heard that Valve, the company behind Steam, is working on a handheld Nintendo Switch, in air quotes, competitor. And then the other 2 links, one is to an Indiegogo, one is to an ETA Prime video with this Onyx player, ONEXPLAYER, basically a Tiger Lake handheld 8.4 inch display. Starts out at $700, tops off at, I want to say, like $1,400. Mini x86 computer. Supposedly Valve is looking at making a handheld Linux-based Steam system. I'll just say, if it's anything like their Steam boxes that they tried now, which I can't believe it's been a decade ago, but their Steam boxes that they tried a decade ago, then this has no hope of being successful in any shape, way, or form. If they think they can charge $700 for a handheld computer that runs Steam games, I think they're going to be extremely sadly mistaken. I think they're going to have to get the price literally down to below $400, and it needs to be a really good experience.
Well, they need to get it down to at least down to $400, and it needs to match, or like you said, exceed something like the Switch.
Yeah, and the number of games on the Switch are insane. They do have some crapware on it, but they still can't keep them in market. This is now, I want to say, a 4-year-old system, and stores can't keep it in stock. So the Nintendo people hit something right.
Well, like I've always said, the biggest innovation with the Switch has always, to me, been the Joy-Cons. They did such a good job with the Joy-Cons. It's ridiculous what you can do in that little remote control that, I mean, nothing else is anything super impressive. I mean, it's got, if I remember right, the specs are right around a Raspberry Pi, and it uses an ARM-based, you know, but the amount of software that went into it, like you always said, Dor, that, you know, that it's 50% hardware, 50% software, but the Joy-Cons is what I think they really hit a home run on, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to match those. At least not, they'll be able to match them, but I don't think they'll be able to improve upon them for at least another 5 years.
Yeah, and like just like to end the tangent on that one is the processor used in the Nintendo Switch, Nvidia already said by the end of the year they're not going to make it anymore. So the rumor mill is the Nintendo Switch Pro, which I really think they should call the Super Nintendo Switch, but you know, what do I know?
I agree.
They don't think it's going to be $300. They think it's going to be $350 or $400. So if they can't keep it in stock and they push the price up a little bit, maybe that will actually cause it to slow down in sales. Or the people who had a Switch who want to upgrade will then take theirs and give it to somebody else and go get a new one.
Yeah.
So there is a market for Valve to step in, and I do think to become extremely successful, but they have to be much more business savvy than they've been in the past with hardware, is what I'll say. There's a lot of money to be made. The money in the game industry is greater than all of Hollywood for like the last 4 or 5 years, and it's only getting more and more. So
especially because of, you know, COVID, how much it switched everything over to streaming real quick. You know, you got things out of the movie theaters and into streaming, and they had to have a new way of calculating how good a movie did. You know, they based everything on how many minutes were watched of the movie versus how many ticket sales. You know, and it's weird.
Yeah, and a little bit of news. This to me is a sign of things to come. You know, without sounding repetitive, years and years ago, I said how, maybe 6 years ago, how the Raspberry Pi would take over a area of computing. And these ARM-based processors are now a significant percentage of the market, period. Hence, Intel is basically in trouble. They branched out to now graphics drivers and graphics cards, and they're trying to literally offload some of their x86 production to somebody else so they can save money, kind of thing. Now ARM needs to worry big time. They need to worry royally, because now you have RISC-V processors literally hitting the streets. This one software development place, they paid for 1,000 RISC-V boards to be made, and they're handing them out to developers for free, kind of thing. I firmly believe by the time 2023 comes around, 2024 comes around, about a half of the right now things that have ARM-based processors in them could very easily be replaced with RISC-V processors. And what I mean by that is really low-end mini computers, like the Nano Pis, the Orange Pis, some of the Banana Pis, all of the IoT type infrastructure, all the Alexa devices, all the Google Mini devices, all of those kind of devices can easily be replaced with RISC-V. But the other place where I can see RISC-V becoming even more popular is like embedded into monitors or television sets. So I think we're like on the precipice of the beginning of the wave starting to crest, and within like 6 months to a year, it's going to start to break, and it's going to take another year to 2 years for all the hardware to hit the streets, to where people are going to be programming against RISC-V.
Could be. I mean,
I agree.
So I was looking at line 457. So anytime there's an Intel single board computer catches my interest, but there's no pricing on it. And I hate to say my interest is highly dependent on the pricing.
Yeah, I absolutely understand why you say that. I will say this one did catch my eye, and because it's technically Intel based, but I think more importantly, it's Intel socket based. So which means you could put in different processors that you wanted in the board, and we haven't seen this really too many mini computers. So I definitely like the idea of them doing this.
So it looks like its Pi form factor might be a smidge bigger, but you can get it with an i7 8-core 16-thread Comet Lake processor at says 2/4.4 gigahertz turbo, which wow, that. And so of course I'm always thinking about an ESXi cluster. You could get up to 64 gigs of RAM on it. And realistically, if they came in with a good price, that's pretty good. Now it does have, you could do other things with it. It's got dual gig Ethernet. Um, it's got two onboard SATAs. Let's see, it says DisplayPort VGA. I was just looking at the board. I really didn't read the specs on it. Two USB 3.2, which is cool. It says, let's see, M2, so it's got an M2 PCIe 4X by 1 SATA, NVMe also, I2C, SM bus. So it's got a lot of connectivity. The only thing I was kind of surprised at is that it didn't have a second monitor, you know, that there were either two display ports or something of the sort. It does have, like I said, a VGA and a display port.
Well, can't you run most? Isn't there video out in most USB nowadays anyway? USB 3.2.
Oh, actually, you could be right on that. Right.
Yeah, and I do think that the VGA port is actually not a VGA port per se. I think it's a serial port for like base communications. But with that said, this is the kind of flexibility, functionality I think is really sexy. I do think the price is probably going to be a touch more than either of us would like it to be, but if you're the person that needs a super small form factor with an i7 with Google's of RAM and with two real gigabit NICs, I don't know where else you're going to get something this small to do this kind of thing. Well, with the flexibility that it offers.
It's like looks like a black RAM connector or socket, RAM socket at the edge of the board, next to the VGA connector.
Yeah. And another board I wanted to bring up, even though hasn't really been a lot of hardware news per se, we've had the RK33 66 processors here for now. It seems like over 2 years. I want to say that they're finally starting to run their course of max efficiency. They're not doing as much on the video front as I was really hoping they were going to do. I was really hoping they would easily do 4K and punch into some 8K kind of stuff, and they're really not doing it. Now we have the RK3566 processors that are right now starting to launch. First one is called a Firefly, and it says it's going to have the quad core A55 SBC, supports up to 8 gig EEC with 120 gigabyte flash, M.2 storage, NVMe SSDs, HDMI 2.0, and a MIPI DSI video out with gigabit Ethernet and more. This is definitely Raspberry Pi form factor. This is like the beginning of the next generation of these rock processors that we see. And it's honestly fairly priced. It wasn't insanely priced. I want to say it was $69. Uh, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, going for $75. 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, $105. And they looks like they're going to also have like higher versions of that coming out. So this is like the beginning of these boards. So hopefully, in air quotes, prices will just continue to come down.
See Android 11, and then a question mark on Ubuntu 18.04.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these boards have an easier time, is the way I'll put it, onboarding Android operating systems onto their boards before Linux. There must be some level of tweaking in the kernel drivers in order to get these things to run Linux in the beginning. But again, this is basically the very first RK3356, 3566 based board. So when these boards come out more frequently, they'll be able to port Linux, I think, easier, quicker.
Yeah, it's interesting. Price-wise, it's a smidge more than I'd like, but if the performance is there, that'd be decent.
Yeah, this is Gen 1. I would hope by Gen 2 or Gen 3, we could get respectable specs for like under $55. Yeah, and the real quick follow-up I wanted to say, Rich, was how you've had your Wise watch now for at least a month and a half.
Oh, more than that. So, I saw you had an article here about the Wise Watch, and so I went to like a long weekend, and so the Wise Watch is now my go-to for going away for a long weekend because I don't have to bring a charger or anything with it. And hold on, you guys talk among yourselves.
Yeah, Wise watch is sub $30, very flexible IoT interface is the way I want to use it. It's not as smart in air quotes as the smart watches are, but it's not as stupid as just like the fitness counters is. It falls somewhere in between. What I didn't realize was there was two different size watches, which I knew, but I didn't realize with the two different size watches, there were two different sets of features available on each watch. And that was one thing that this review showed me.
Yeah, I accidentally got the 47, which is the very small features. No Amazon built in. No, really just base, and a couple Wise things, but nothing to write home about. Period. And it was very disappointing. It's got sleep tracking. It's got it. That one to me falls below the fitness trackers because it has so many options, and that's it.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So I got the 47. I like the sleep tracking. I usually sleep with the watch on. Let me break it down. So there's some things I haven't configured yet, and I was going to say, well, I wear my Galaxy Watch during the day because notifications like work email, but I probably just have to click a button and it works on my Wise Watch. The Wise Watch, you can't make a phone call from it, and you can't pay for crap with it. But it lasts for 10 frickin' days. It's also lighter weight. So if I'm biking or something like that, my Galaxy Watch tracks my biking. But if I'm working out, like when the trainer comes to the house or something like that, I wear that watch, the Wise Watch, because it's lighter weight, because I'm usually doing, more movement, more motion. So yeah, and I replaced the band. I don't have the stock band on. I'm sorry, I'm not wearing a watch right now, but the Wise Watch, to me, I just laugh in my brain all the time, thinking I'm wearing a watch that has fantastic functionality and costs me $20.
Yeah, I'll agree. For the price, you can't really beat it. What disappointed me was the fact that I have the Wise band, and it works great, and it's got the Amazon built in where you can actually, do little things here and there, but the fact that you can't really do anything with the Wise Watch just kind of bothers me.
Well, you can do Wise ecosystem things with the Wise
Yeah,
Watch.
yeah, but there's not much. Yeah,
So I'm always continually frustrated on devices, and let's talk IoT or sub mini computer or something like that. Um, the the problem is ecosystems, and
yeah,
I always like to break through. That's why I want to have a Roku instead of a Google TV or an Amazon Fire Stick, because it's not playing on anyone's team. I'd rather have more agnostic hardware, but again, apparently Roku had a spat with YouTube TV. It's just going to be a more pain in the ass that these. I'm more of an open systems fan. Let me say that, where things are extensible as
yeah,
opposed to being
and
closed.
well, that's one of the reasons why I gravitated and still am working with my Home Assistant. I
Hmm.
have a full Home Assistant set up in the RV. Controls my lights, does temperatures in a few areas. Nothing major right now as far as automation, but everything. It's you can hook everything to it. It has my LG TV, the LG WebOS connected to it, as well as my Roku, as well as my Google TV. Everything can be hooked to it and controlled,
Hmm.
which is really nice. But there's still it's work to get it started, you know. But that's the fun part to me.
Oh, and just one more Wise bit of news. I generally like the Wise company. Oh, where's my Wise camera? Something happened with I think my power supply or the battery went bad, or the something went wrong with the power on it, so I pulled it out of my garage. But I did order the Wise earbuds. I did a pre-order on that. They're going to be scheduled to ship in July. I want to cut them a break in case they're late, so I'm kind of excited to get them. They're the noise
That would be nice,
canceling.
yeah. I was
So
considering getting the headphones,
yeah,
the noise canceling headphones.
and just kind of a side note, I was at a firearms event 2 weekends ago, and a lot of people had like earbud electronic noise canceling. And I was kind of shocked. They said it worked real good, except around the machine guns. So
That's interesting. That's pretty impressive, actually.
yeah, yeah. Because I'll usually double up. I'll usually put a foamy in, and then I'll have an active noise canceling headset, and I'll crank up the volume so I can hear it through the foamies when people talk, but it cancels when something goes bang.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll say I'm a fan of the Wise way of doing things, is what I'll say, because it's kind of like the Roku way of doing things. Of we're not going to be utterly restrictive about what we can do. We'll support our stuff, but if we can support other stuff at the same time, then we'll do that as well, kind of thing.
Yeah, I wish there was a Home Assistant, app on the watch that I could do a couple Home Assistant things. That I could just tap on my watch and turn the light on or something. That I could get the
yeah.
UI up.
Well, that's what the Wise Band allows you to do with the Alexa stuff.
That's
You can,
crazy.
yeah, it basically acts as an intermediate. So the Wise Band can do that. But the only reason I don't like the Wise cameras, I love the Wise cameras, but the only reason I don't use them, I actually use the EUFY UFI, because they ship with RTMP support out of the box, so I can hook that up to my Home Assistant. I can't do anything with
Okay.
Home Assistant
Hmm.
with the Wise unless I do a secondary tablet that runs the tiny cam server.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the only reason why I don't, and they don't really have a beta firmware that does that at any speed. You know, it's usually like a 5-second delay on their beta firmware.
Okay.
So it's just like, yeah.
And that's where we're talking open architecture, and
Yeah.
along with that conversation, I have cameras, hardwired cameras, with Cat5 connecting them, and the NVR, it's not a DVR, it's a network video recorder, and whatever, parse the language. But really, what I've been wanting to do, and probably everybody's going to roll their eyes when I say it, is have AI watch the streams and like let me know when somebody's on the property, and like if it's family, maybe open the garage door if it's closed, or deactivate the alarm, or if it's like UPS or FedEx dropping off a package, let me know, hey, package at the front door, kind of thing.
And that's exactly what I want to do with the RV, is because I will be vulnerable when I'm out. It's a lot harder to check the door, when there's someone at the door or something. It's so what I'm doing is actually Unraid, and it's called Shinobi, which is and I think we've talked about it before, is that's one thing that I'm going to be setting up with those other cameras. That way, what I want to have is a backup camera and side mirror cameras, as well as a door camera. I'd like to set it up, and I've figured out a way to do it to where when I turn on my right blinker, there's a screen right next to me that turns on my right video stream. And then left
what
blinker,
year is your RV?
74. So
this is pre-CAN bus and all that.
Correct. So everything's able to be read. Technically, I do have CAN bus throughout it, because the ECU that I have actually runs I got a 7-inch digital display that it's a digital gauge cluster. So it's a TFT screen that it's awesome. But yeah, so all the engine mechanics run through CAN, but everything else is very, very simple on-off switches.
Right.
But yeah, it's so when I want to, I can pull the output on the blinkers. I can just tap into the line. When it sees power being sent to the blinker, turns on the feed. And then same with backup camera, which I'm actually going to have the backup camera on all the time.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. So it should be fun. It'll be interesting because I'll also be able to record at all times, and like you said, do the person tracking.
Yes.
So that'll be fun.
Very cool, very cool. Here's our board I wanted to highlight just to make sure it's in the notes, kind of thing. I'm not going to say I'm going to get one. I will say this is approaching the level of quality and value that I think a lot of people like. I'm not going to say it's there yet, but it's really close, and that is the Rock Pi 4 Plus board was announced. That's on 467. Basically, this is again a RK3399 hexacore processor. So as a quick reminder, that is 2 cores running at 2 gigahertz and 4 cores running at 1.5 gigahertz. This is going to come preloaded with Twister OS. So if anything should run well on this thing, it should be this Twister OS. They're going to have at least 4 different versions. It looks like Model A Plus with 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of built-in storage, $49. A Plus, 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, $65. Model B Plus, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gig, $59. B Plus with 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs, $75. So it is a touch pricey is what I'll say, but for anybody to even come close to compete with Raspberry Pi prices is going to be extremely difficult just because nobody slings as much silicon as the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So for them to even get the prices that they got here is almost enough to make me want to buy one of these just because I want other companies to see more of my business than less of my business is the way I'll put it.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it as far as it says the onboard built-in storage? Is it eMMC or?
I do believe it is built in, baked into the board eMMC if I look at it right.
That's nice.
Despite the upgrade and addition of eMMC storage, suggested pricing, yes.
Yeah, and it looks like it will also have a micro SD card reader plus an M.2 connector as well. So I'm a fan of both of them. I like the idea of putting base operating system on SD card with no swap. Take all the logs, put them into RAM, and then you could use the M.2 for actual like network storage kind of thing. And it's very, very close to Raspberry Pi form factor. I think it's just a touch taller. But more than likely, by the numbers, it looks like most Raspberry Pi cases should actually be able to fit this, I think. At least, no, see, because they have only one full-sized HDMI port, not the two little minis. So you might be able to get a Raspberry Pi case, pull it into like an AutoCAD kind of thing and modify it to fit. But this is just another one from the Rock Pi people, which I will say I think they've done good things in the past. I've never heard anybody complain about their hardware. One of the little stupid niceties, is I want to say, is they actually have color-coded GPIO pins, which I think the Asus Tinkerboard was the first one I saw to do that. That to me is one of those little niceties that show that they actually care about people plugging up GPIO to their board.
All right, I was just scrolling through the notes here. 17.3-inch Chromebook?
Yep, for old people or people with bad eyes.
4 gig of RAM or 8 gig possible but not confirmed. All right, so yeah, they're talking, it doesn't seem like they have a firm number, but they're talking like $300 price.
Yeah, I want to say as it goes with Chrome related things, whether it's Chrome bits, Chrome boxes, or Chromebooks, it seems like no company is able to actually hide any of their information from the prying eyes of websites, whether it be Chromecast.com, 9 to 5 Chrome, Chrome Unboxed. None of them can seem to like hide their stuff from these kind of websites. So when they say there's a 17-inch Chromebook coming, there's a 17-inch Chromebook coming. And look, like I said, I'm pushing 50. I'm at the point where I'm almost saying, 17-inch Chromebook. I could see a use for that.
Well, all right, so my work laptop, which is actually over here, is a 13-inch, which I'm like, really? And somebody on my team is like, oh yeah, I don't even use an external monitor at home. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Just stuff that we do day to day, like the vSphere interface, does not display properly on a 13-inch, web page. It doesn't. So, I mean, my Chromebook, I got a 15-inch Chromebook that I paid $200 for. Still loving it.
Yeah, and I'll say it's a Asus Chromebook, and I have a bias. Okay, I've messed with Acer Chromebooks, Dell Chromebooks, Asus Chromebooks, the original CR48 Chromebook, and at least one or two more. I firmly believe that Asus is like the best form for the money kind of thing. The Dells were a little bit expensive, but they were definitely more rugged with the antibacterial coating. The Acer ones to me were just a little bit cheaper. and you could tell the Asus, I think, hit the sweet spot of the right amount of money for the right amount of hardware kind of thing. So for them to do it at 17-inch, when I believe they're going to be at least moderately successful.
So I want to shout out to Chatter on the Wire. He's like, "Hey, hope you updated vSphere because there have been security updates." And yeah, we're all over that. You know what? I'm kind of scratching my head on, and I'm kind of thinking out loud. Is I've done 0 updates on my ESXi Pi cluster, and I don't know. I'm assuming all of the normal updates are for Intel-based hardware and not for the ARM-based hardware. But I haven't verified that.
I'm not going to say I know with that kind of thing. I will say this: no matter what, man, you just got to keep up to date on those things because they're just such a target.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm playing fast and loose. It's on my own home network, so I don't think it's vulnerable. But then again, that's the famous last words.
Well, and my belief is you should try to keep your home stuff on the same level as your enterprise stuff, just so they're easier to do testing. I have to mention this just because, oh man, this scratches an old itch. You know what I mean? Just picture me being the old, dirty mutt on the front porch, and every time you walk past, he's just scratching himself, kind of thing. That's what this link does for me on line 470. Slitaz. Slitaz is the kind of distribution for Linux that I have a really hard time explaining to people, except for you've all heard of Slackware, you've all heard of Gentoo, you've all heard of these kinds, you've all heard of Linux from scratch kind of thing. Most people have never heard of Slitaz, okay? Slitaz is, to me, the distribution you run when you demand complete power at your fingertips, like immediate quick access to all your Samba shares, immediate quick access to all of your users, immediate quick access to these kinds of things. But you also insist you want to learn all of those things at the same time. And that is Slitaz. To me, dare I say, with Slackware, some things are a little bit too easy. With ARM, with Arch, things are a little bit too simple. Once you have the AUR installed, you can install whatever you want. Not with Slitaz, is the way I'll put it. Slitaz definitely causes you to be a little bit more educated to be comfortable in it. And then I found out Slitaz has a Raspberry Pi version, and I almost got giddy. But then I realized, looking at this hasn't been updated for 7 years. 2014.
Oh no.
Yeah, March 2014. So I'm a little behind. So I'm going to continue to scrub and scrape and see if I can find, more updated versions of this kind of thing just to play with. Because if you want a secure, in air quotes, Raspberry Pi device that Nessus scans and stuff won't know what to do with, if someone gets into your network and scan, install Slitaz on something, and no security pen tester will have a clue on what to do next after they see Slitaz. So I just had to say that.
Yeah, I know when I did, actually, when went to OLF, I was looking for a lightweight distribution that I could throw, let's see. So I was doing Cold Fusion at the time. So it was like an IDE, a Cold Fusion engine, which I don't know if it was Rallo or who the prior one was, I forget. All on like the absolute smallest distro possible. And Slitaz was one of the things I was looking at the time.
Very cool, very cool. And we've had a lot of things happen. Here's the thing. Here's the way I'm going to paraphrase this one. We've had a lot of things happen in the last couple months as far as space exploration, satellites, going through space, things happening here with observatories crashing to the ground, all kinds of things like that. We've also had a lander go to Mars, but here's what I didn't know. It looks like the way, if I read this right, that the devices are communicating with each other because we have the car-sized rover, then we have the helicopter. it looks like they're communicating back and forth over Zigbee protocol. So Linux, in air quotes, is officially the communication means for these two devices on Mars, which I found to be really cool, is what I'll say.
Yes.
And if you want to see, like, literally history being written, just go to YouTube and look for Ingenuity drone flights. And they got like 6 of them now up or so. On the very last one, there was an air quote glitch that caused it to nearly lose control, but it was able to get control of itself and land. Long story short, it's over 7 minutes away in time. So by the time they see something happening, it's already happened, kind of thing. So they have to make sure they have appropriate.
Wait. Make sure it's 7 minutes from Earth to Mars.
Well, on average, 7 minutes in time radio
Not
frequency.
7 minutes from the lander to the helicopter.
Oh, no. Right. From here to there, the average is 7 minutes. So sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, kind of thing. So they have to make sure that they have the thing programmed intelligently. So if it experiences something, it can recover. So we don't have to do anything, or else it's just going to crash to the ground. So yeah, I thought that was cool. I like seeing Linux. See, I don't want to say what podcast I was listening to, but they were talking about the year of the Linux desktop and if it's going to ever happen. Why even? That's such a false narrative. That's not what you shoot for. Who cares? But the desktop is pointless. You're on Mars, man. You have the biggest companies in the world shoving open source licenses. Here we have this. Here we have that. Pushing software everywhere. It's clear they've already won. Okay. It's clear closed source operating systems are doing everything in their power to just hang on by like tooth and nail, because everything open seems to be just crushing it, is the way I'll put it.
Well, everybody's heard me say this forever. Almost every Linux system I run doesn't have a UI.
Yeah, and it just works.
Yes. Yeah, that's all I count on. Just run. Now, I do have, like, in my VMware clusters, whether it's an Intel cluster or an ARM cluster, I do have some Linux VMs with GUIs on them. But those are, special purpose things.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, we've been going on for over an hour now. It looks like we might have lost Brett.
Yep,
so
I don't see him on Plumble.
Yeah, and if we did have any emails come in since the last episode, which was only like 2 weeks ago or so, I don't see them. So if you guys did send an email in, I'm sorry. Please don't hesitate to resend it again. I will not take it as an insult if you resend the email to minipc@podnutz.com. Or if you want to send a voicemail in, it's very easy, 707-6-PODNUT. I'm 99% sure that number still works. Or if you want to follow us on Patreon, it's very easy, patreon.com/the mini PC show. So Rich, I'll say, if people want to catch up with you, what's the easiest, simplest way for that to happen?
So flyingrich.com or Instagram, flyingrich_official, or YouTube, it's it's youtube.com/flyingrich.
Very cool. And if you want to catch up with me, it's very easy to do. Just check out any of the links in the notes. We have Discord servers. We have email addresses. If you want a phone number, all you gotta do is shoot me an email. I'll send you that to you as well. I'm gonna thank everyone for their continued support. Thanks to you guys, we do not have to stress over advertisers. We not need to stress over how is the server going to remain up and running. We do not have to stress about our day-to-day things. We both have 9-to-5 jobs. We all have 9-to-5 jobs. So we literally do this as a hobby, and we like for people to listen to us as a hobby. So I definitely want to thank everyone for coming out. John, Chatter, Red, Captain Zero, all you guys, thank you guys for coming out. If you want to come out again live, all you do is follow us either on Discord or on Twitter, or send me your email address and I will send you an email when we go live, or again on Patreon, we send out notifications. I want to thank everyone for downloading and spreading the word, and we will talk to everyone again real soon.
thing, and I want the people that are watching here, is I went to a firearms event, and I think some people that watch cross both tech and firearms, but it was just a great feeling being out and doing normal things again. It was just so I'll tell you what, if they do an OLF, it'll probably go like gangbusters, because I think a lot of people would love an OLF. And I was kind of excited, but kind of unhappy. It said Joel maybe late or not at all to the Tilts show, so I was like,
Huh.
oh, the night I can't do Tilts.
Damn it.
Eh,
I blame
and-
Joel. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'll say if, more tech was talked about, I would be more willing to
yeah.
listen to
Yeah,
participate.
look, the name of the show is Linux Link Tech Show. We need to talk Linux. That's or tech, but there really needs to be a Linux story in each episode.
Or even links. Just bring links. Something.
Something.
Even though I know it's the wrong link, I know.
So I just wanted to shout out to John Hollinger. He's had a spell in the hospital. He's out, and I talked to John recently, and Chatter on the Wire we've been chatting with. No, I didn't get tased. In case that I've been threatened to get tased, but I didn't get tased at the event. And if I do have a video about that, if you look at my YouTube.
Happy you didn't get tased, man. Just because it can't be comfortable. I mean, come on.
So a number of people volunteered to get tased, because one of the guys I went to this event with is repping a taser company, and about 6 people volunteered. This woman, she was a champ. You should see like big, like 2A looking gun guys getting tased and writhing. Like you could see there was this one guy, and it took every ounce of his effort not to scream. He was like really choking it back, and she just kind of made a squeak, and that was about it.
Damn. I know I would make all kinds of weird noises.
Okay, yeah, Chatter on the Wire saw the video then. So yeah, I had a stink load of fun 2 weeks ago. A lot of fun on Monday, thanks to my buddy Don. That he had 3 kayaks and we went out kayaking, so that was really nice.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
All right, Dor, I worked out today. I'm gonna pay myself off with some ice cream.
Oh, that's good.
Low carb though.
Well,
Dor, great seeing you. How the hell are you doing, man?
Pain, lots of pain.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm always afraid of.
Yeah, between you and me, I took off the entire week. This is the last week that we can submit schoolwork for my kids' grade. So I said, screw that, I'm taking off the whole week. I'm going to sit with them all day, every day, and make sure they submit as much as they can possibly get, because I don't want my kids to be part of the statistic of this year's the worst year in air quotes for kids' grades. No, so far my kids are the complete opposite. They have the best grades they've had in like 3 years. That's when I make sure that it stays that way. But yeah, every morning I wake up, it hurts. Every time I go to bed, it hurts.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
July 12th, I have the surgery, and the I can't remember her name. Oh God, the AP, whatever the hell it is, the PA, the PA, who's not the real doctor, told me very straight up, well, this pain, this pain, this pain, this pain, what we're gonna do is going to do nothing for that, but for that pain and this pain, we'll do something for that.
Oh boy, wow.
And so how long am I going to have to wait? Maybe by 2022, maybe.
Oh jeez. John's kids are out of school.
Must be nice. Actually, no. That's a very mixed blessing. Never mind.
Right?
I take that back. I kind of don't want my kids to be out of school just yet, because then I know that's just another world of problems.
Yeah, well, Skylar. So here's where Dad screwed up. When Skylar came in the office, she's like, you drive me to the airport tomorrow. I'm like, I didn't take off. I'm like, oh, hasn't been what's front of mind for me.
Well, how time-wise, how long is it going to take for that drive?
It's gonna be like an hour round trip.
Not as bad as I thought. Okay, good. I was afraid you were going to say like 2 or 3 hours around.
No, the local airport, so that's good. But I probably gotta fire off an email to my boss, and I hate doing that.
I know. Trust me, I know. And then what's even worse is when you fire off an email to your boss, and then 8 hours later, the boss acts like they didn't see your email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that today. Yeah.
Chatter on the Wire says try homeschooling and working from home. Dude, no. Look, Skylar's 19, and she really was never a problem when I worked from home. So even when she was younger. But yeah, homeschooling, God bless you. One, kudos to you. Let me just say that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't care if my kids are 5 or my kids are 17. I don't think I have enough sanity to do that.
Skylar's great. She's a fire and forget missile. You don't have to do anything for her.
Well, the one thing I did hear was communities popping up where one parent would be like the science teacher, one parent would be like the math teacher, one would be the history teacher, and then so one day a week my kid would go over here, one day a week my kid would go over there, one day a week my kid would go over there, and then one day a week all the kids come over here. That's the only way I think I could ever do homeschool. Because to do everything every day, oh my goodness, I would be an alcoholic like that.
Yeah.
I guess we did lose Brett. I'm going to blame it on his Amazon Sidewalk. That's it. But yeah, Chatter on the Wire. The long story short about the Amazon Sidewalk is you can't use it. I can't use it. Individuals can't use it by design. Caveat at the end. And using LoRa, LORA bandwidth, it's literally bits per second, not megabits per second, bits per second. It can't even stream anything to it or from it, kind of thing. So low bandwidth. It can work over a quarter mile as well. And the way that the infrastructure is set up, nobody in the network can see any of the data. It's all nested inside of encrypted packets like Tor. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, kind of like how Border Gateway Protocol is. Okay, Border Gateway Protocol is the definition of the borders of the networks of where they can go. If I heard this right, Amazon Sidewalk has its own border gateway where it can only allow packets out to access very specific set of websites. So even if you get a compromised device to be able to connect to that sidewalk, you won't be able to send data to Google Drive or something that's not meant to be using the network, is the way that I believe it. I'm not going to say I trust anybody. Amazon, Netflix, Microsoft, any of those companies, but it does appear like they have structured this protocol in the hardware layers correctly for a change kind of thing. So we'll have to wait and see if devices can become compromised. Can you become a poison node in the network? And, we don't know, but at least it looks like they actually did it right.
Gotcha. Alrighty, man, I'm going to drop. I got some stuff to take care of here.
All right, I'm going to edit this and try to get it out tonight.
Hey, Dort, good seeing you, and good seeing the guys in the chat. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Take it easy. Yeah, I will say it's good. Those kind of things, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what they have written down on a piece of paper, but on the piece of paper, it looks really smartly done, smartly secured, intelligently locked down, and border walled correctly kind of thing. But, we'll have to wait and see. If all it takes is somebody to spook a MAC address and poison the network, then you never know what could happen. Oh, all right, guys. Yeah, hopefully we'll be back in less than 2 weeks. That's the goal, at least. All right, I'm going to stop the stream. Thank you, guys.